And we are recording. Hey, Patrick.
Hi, Bonnie. How are you?
I'm great. Even better now. This is so fun.
It's good to see you.
You too. Welcome to the second episode of Andiamo.
Andiamo. I'm ready.
Andiamo.
I'm
Let's
ready.
go.
Do I
Yeah,
need to
so
be
this is
nervous?
not at all.
Okay.
Not at all. A little adrenaline's good.
Yeah. I'm excited. You're gonna ask me questions.
I am, and we're going to talk about one of our favorite topics in the whole wide world, which is travel
Food. Oh,
and
sorry.
food. Well, they really,
Oh,
I
food
mean,
too.
what's travel without food? They are one of the
That's
same.
that's the reason you travel, right?
Yes, absolutely. In
The
fact, I
only
think we
reason
just
anyone
found the new
travels.
theme of this conversation. Forget expat life. Let's talk about food and travel.
Food.
I
Uh,
love it.
yes.
So yeah, so just a little background for anyone that's watching, if anyone ever watches this, and if they do, great, and if they don't, you and I are going to have fun for the next
Yeah.
half hour or so. But yeah, you and I go way back,
Way back.
way back. Met through Disney. Instant. I think we like rediscovered long lost brother and sister
Yep.
relationship. Yep.
That was it. We look like we're
And
related.
yes, we do. And we've been reunited and inseparable ever since. Reunited from birth.
Inseparable or insufferable for our partners.
All of the above.
Definitely insufferable.
All of the
The two
above.
of us together, it's just, yeah. I pity anyone who's around us when we're together.
And it's been an interesting friendship because as I'm sitting here thinking about it now, I feel like when we first met, we spent a whole lot of time together because we were working together. So we were like really thrown together for a good
Yeah,
year. And then it wasn't too long after that that you moved abroad to start
that's
working.
right. That's
And so
right.
we've had a really interesting friendship. Like maybe that's why it's lasted so long. We don't spend a lot of time in person together.
I don't think that's it. It's funny though, but no, I
It
don't
is
think
kind of funny to think about. No, but I actually, in a lot of ways, and we can talk about this too. In a lot of ways, I actually feel like we grew closer as
yeah.
friends when you moved farther away.
I think
Did it feel,
I
did
would
it seem
agree with
that way to
that.
you?
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I've noticed the same with my family as well. I think when I moved out of the country, it forces you to make more of a concerted effort to communicate and stay in touch and kind of be closer to those that you love and you miss. So yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely
Yeah,
agree.
yeah. So tell
Yeah.
us, okay, actually, I have two interesting questions to start with. Um,
I'll be the judge of that.
yes, you will. My first question is, what do you think about the term expat to begin with? And maybe explain for the people, like, what does that even mean? I think we just like throw that term around,
Yeah.
but but did we ever really stop and think about what that means? And does that resonate with you? Or do you prefer something else or nothing at all?
No, that is a tough one. So expat it means you're an expatriate. You're a visitor. You're a visitor from another country living in another country. And it's never resonated with me. The first time I heard it was when I first moved for Disney and into 2000, going into 2001, and moved to Tokyo. And I had expat training and an expat coordinator who was helping me, and an expat package, which you usually hear a lot about when people talk about expats. And um, that comes with a lot of negative connotation. This idea that you're an expat, you're this foreign visitor who's being brought in to do a job in another country, and it just never sat well with me.
Yeah. So have you come up with a different term for your experience or no labels at all? Just throw them all out the window.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I tell people I'm from Canada. Um, so I've only done that a few times. Occasionally I'll put on a different accent and speak a different language to try to throw people off. But no, I usually don't go for the labels. It's a different world when you're an expat. So I've been on a few expat contracts, and you're paid usually in your home country currency, the salary amount that you would have gotten if you were in that home country, which means that usually in the country that you're living in, your dollar goes a long way. And so you have this kind of inflated salary. On top of that, as part of your package, you usually are given some sort of stipend, and you're also given either free housing or an allocation towards that housing in addition to everything else. And then all these other weird add-ons. And it's meant to be incentive to get you to take the job, to move abroad, to do what they want you to do, which is fine. And I'm thankful for the years that I did that. And the experience was a great experience, but I never really gelled with that lifestyle. So examples would be that they have these, and people are going to hate this, but they had these clubs, and they had a club in Tokyo and they had a club in Hong Kong when I lived there, and they were called the American Club. And it really wasn't just for Americans, but it was for anyone who was foreign, who was there as an expat. You could go to the American Club, and it was like stepping into this bubble of Western culture in this case. So you'd step in, and sometimes there'd be a bowling alley and the hairdresser, and everyone spoke English, and you could have a pancake breakfast, and you can go there for Thanksgiving dinner. And on the one hand, it was like reassuring, and it's like, oh, that's really neat that I can go and rent English movies there from this Blockbuster, or have that experience at home. But at the same time, the counter to that was that it actually made you more homesick, because it wasn't exactly what you wanted or remembered or what you really needed at that moment. And also, it wasn't the experience that you signed up for. It's like, so it was always this weird disconnect between I'm in this foreign place, but this is a bit of home, but it doesn't feel right. And also the local people are in here, like, recreating this world for us. It's just like, it really do my head in. So I would only go, I was never a member, but I always go as a guest, usually invited by other expats who were there. And I'd only go for the pancakes. I just drew the line. I said, I'm only here for the pancakes.
I'm just here for the food. I'm just here for the food, people.
Here for the pancakes. Just get out of my way. Yeah.
That is so interesting. Yeah. And is that a thing of the past? Is that not a thing anymore?
Yeah, I think that's been 20 years ago now. I think it has changed quite a bit. I think there are still expats. I mean, clearly not in my world, not now. But I know friends in Hong Kong who work for Microsoft, who work for Google, who are on expat packages and are very much still in that world. But yeah, I hadn't been on it. The last one I was on was when I first moved to Switzerland. It was an expat package for the first couple years, and then it was a kind of phased, you phased out of it. So by year 5, you were local and you converted to a local package, which I thought was a nice way to do it. It was a good way to get you kind of acclimated to the place that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. And that former approach with the American clubs and stuff that you were describing, how did that affect you personally? Did it affect kind of like planting roots for yourself and connecting and forging relationship with local residents? And were you perceived differently? Can you talk a bit about like that human connection piece?
Well, I think that's why I resisted it, because I knew that with any expat package, it's usually 2 to 3 years you're in and then you're out. I thought, for the time that I'm here, I'm really going to try to embrace it. So I threw myself into the culture. I took language lessons. I tried to hang out and make friends with my colleagues who live there full time. And I tried to do everything I could to fully experience that, because that's why you're there. I mean, you're there to do a job, but you're also there to have this adventure. And so why not have that adventure?
Yeah. What was
Yeah.
it when you look back on those experiences, and you may not have even been conscious of it at the time, but I mean, I know you and I know how personable you are, and I know how just friendly and respectful and fun. So I feel like people are automatically drawn to you. But when you are a foreigner, living and working in another country, what have you found works best in people kind of opening up to you being there and forging those relationships with new people and new cultures?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think you have to find some common ground. So you find something that is a common thing. Try to avoid two things that I always avoid: avoid religion and avoid politics. Find something else to align on, because if you want to try to acclimate, it's best to go in and really be a politician. You really have to go in and just be middle of the road and try to find that common ground to, I don't know, to meet people and to make friends. For me, it's always been food. And we've talked about this, so just been food. So, I think food is it's very social. It brings people together. It could be around a table. It could be in a restaurant around a table, at your home around a table. It's shared. It's a shared experience. It usually helps with conversation. With or without alcohol, it usually helps with conversation because, again, people are more open when they're sharing something with you. There's the physical act of giving to someone and receiving, that builds an immediate bond with someone. And if it's something that you've prepared or they've prepared, then there's a lot that is kind of embedded in that thing they've created for you and they're sharing with you. So yeah, I think food. I'm all about the food. Just love it. Clearly, I'm all about the food.
As am I. I love that. And you know what that got me thinking of, and I think you were saying this another way when what you were describing just now, but it's kind of a shared global experience that regardless of what culture we come from, I feel like each culture has its own version of sharing a meal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that in itself is a common ground, because that is a common experience for most of us. Not everyone, of course, but like that. And then to get to come together and share with one another how each of our cultures does that. And I know you've had some really fun and creative Thanksgivings through the years, because you don't always come home for Thanksgiving, but
Yeah.
Friends that you've made are intrigued by that holiday. And so you've really had some wonderful Thanksgiving and Friendsgivings, where whoever you're with at the time, you all make it you make a focused effort to come together and share a meal together and make it a special occasion.
Yeah, we've had Thanksgivings all over the world, and it doesn't even become about, the fact that it's on a Thursday, because when you tell people that you're going to take a Thursday off so that you can cook and then have them over to your house on a Thursday so that you can all eat until well into the wee hours of the next day. And then they still have to go to work, but you're going to take the next day off too, or maybe not. And you're going to be, miserable the next day at work. That's a hard sell. And so, it would be a Saturday meal or a Sunday brunch or different versions of Thanksgiving. But yeah, I mean, Thanksgivings in Paris and Switzerland. We had a great one in Malta. Actually, I think we had 2 Thanksgivings in Malta with some friends who, former boss and dear friends who moved there, which was wild because the first year we couldn't find a turkey on the island, and then the next year they planned ahead and met a local farmer who agreed to raise a turkey for us for the next year, and just, and then me driving around Malta looking for yeast so that I can make my mom's rolls, and it's just the things you do. But yeah, Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving's at, instead of the traditional 3 p.m. at a football game, it's midnight and you're still eating, and you're like, so tired. But yeah, you try to adapt to the culture, right?
Yeah. So fun. What has been your most memorable meal abroad in your travels? And who were you, and who did you share it with?
Wow. Most memorable meal. It's hard to pick just one.
Yeah. And you can just go with whatever comes to you right now. We won't hold you to it and say, well, no, you said this was your most memorable meal.
Yeah. Well, the first one that popped in my head when you said that was when I was living in Tokyo. It was fairly well known to all of my friends there that I was not a sushi eater. Don't like fish. That was a tough part about being in Tokyo. Just can't do it.
And did you ever acquire a taste for it while you were there?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I acquired the ability to avoid it when the bento would come for our work lunches in the office. We're all around the table. I acquired the ability to cover it up with chopsticks and just eat the little square of egg.
Move
and maybe
food or your plate.
Yeah,
your
the
bento
California
box.
roll. I can make any plate look like it's been eaten. That's a talent. That's a real talent. That's what I need to put on my CV. I can do that.
Yeah, without offending anyone.
So my friend Greg, who sadly is no longer with us, but my friend Greg, who was an expat in Tokyo at the time that I was there, he got really excited one day and he said, "I found a chicken restaurant for you. All they serve is chicken. That's all that's on the menu." I'm like, "This is amazing." I'm like, "Where is it?" He goes, "It's right down the street from where we're living. We'll go, we'll have dinner." I'm like, "That's perfect. Let's do that." So we go for this dinner. We sit down and sure enough, menu's all in Japanese, but we tried, and he spoke fluent Japanese. So we order and it comes, but it turns out that it is a chicken restaurant, and everything on the menu was chicken, but it was all parts of the chicken and it was raw. And so it was a meal of raw chicken. And you're raised, your mom raises you, don't eat raw chicken. If you touch raw chicken, wash your hands. But it turns out it's just the way that it's processed that you have to be really mindful of. And clearly this is very hygienic, and it was the way that it was prepared, and for that, the way that chicken was slaughtered and kept and whatever. But it was like a skewer of chicken breast chunks, almost like a sashimi, but with chicken. And then it was the chicken, just the leg, and it was all raw. And he's like, "I'm really sorry, I didn't know it was going to be like this." And so we had to pay and go, and that was it. And yeah, that was the most memorable meal. That's the first one that came to mind. Yeah, raw chicken. Yeah. I didn't even try it. I couldn't.
Yeah. Oh, God bless them.
Yeah.
I'm nodding because we had a similar experience. It wasn't raw chicken, but it was like a hot pot, meal in Hong Kong with some local friends that we had made. And they were so excited to take us to this restaurant because it was one of their favorite, local hangouts, and, family run, little hole in the wall, which we love those kinds of places. And, the big pot of soup, chicken soup comes to the table, and we have our own idea of what that is to us, based on our culture. And so all I will say is that a foot floated to the top.
No.
Because it's all parts, which
it's all parts.
Is a really, it's on one hand, it's an amazing thing that,
it's great.
They use, like they use what they have, and they don't take any part for granted, and it all has a purpose, and it all has a use. And he was explaining to us the significance of that there's a lot of symbolism around the foot, and that I think it's considered good luck, even, whoever that
Yeah.
pops up for. And
I mean,
and
yeah, that's
more
amazing.
just more cross-cultural conversation that opened up over sharing a meal together.
Yeah, I
So,
like that.
and they laughed at
I like that.
us and we laughed at them, and it was all good
Yeah.
in all of our reactions to all of it.
I imagine
Yeah.
you had some really great meals in Hong Kong, though.
Uh,
It's such a cool place.
so it's such an international place, really. Yeah.
Yeah.
That, speaking of food, food was definitely one of the highlights of our experiences in Hong Kong. And
Yeah.
we just really appreciated the internationality. I think I just made up a new
Mm.
word.
No, I like it. It's good.
Yeah. I mean, literally, you can find any food from any culture. We even found, I think it was an American chef that had relocated there and started a Southern style restaurant.
Oh, well, that's cool. I like that.
Yeah. And we were curious. We were debating whether to go, and we finally went out of curiosity more than anything, but we try to seek out local experiences when we travel, and we
Yeah.
were wondering if that would attract tourists, because it was like safe food, food that they were familiar with. Not safe in terms of like will
Yeah.
it make
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
sick, but like comfortable, familiar food to a lot of American tourists that would be traveling through. And that's not what we wanted. So we just thought,
Yeah.
well, we'll show up and check it out and see what it is. And as it turned out, it was packed with locals, and we were
Yeah.
probably the only tourists there.
And that's the best experience. And you hope that your presence there didn't ruin it for the locals. They're like, oh no, it's become a tourist place now.
Exactly.
No, yeah, if locals are eating there, chances are it's a great place to go. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
100% believe that.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you've had, speaking of food and traveling and living abroad, you've had a lot of cooking experiences as well. I know
Yeah.
to be
Had some
true.
fun ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
whenever I would travel, would always try to kind of get in a local cooking class somewhere. So done it in Italy a few times, done it in Morocco, South Africa, France, and again, it's just here in the UK. Even it's just a great way to get to know the locals as well, because they're your instructors, and getting a feel for local produce and the seasonality of it, and what's in season at the time, learning new techniques, kind of tips and tricks, which is good, and then bringing home some great recipes as well. And you make a friend. It's like, I've had some great kind of really kind of small class cooking school experiences in a lot of those places. And sometimes it's just one-on-one. It's just you and the host, and you've gone to the market, and you've picked stuff up and brought it back and cooked a meal, and then you share the meal. It's great. I love that. It's one of my favorite things.
And have you stayed in touch with some of those people that you
Mm-hmm.
connected with over cooking?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the cooking school in Italy that I went to 2 times, that place, still stay in touch, and they ship their olive oil. They create their olive oil each year, and then they ship batches. And so ordering that olive oil is, I haven't done it since I've been here back in the UK, but yeah, it's great. And it's an amazing quality olive oil. Yeah, and you kind of get used to that too. I mean, once you've not had kind of that store bought, then you always want to go back for that. You want to go back for the
Mm-hmm.
local stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Through those cooking experiences, were you introduced to a new cuisine or a new dish or a new way of preparing something that has really kind of stayed with you and now become part of your regular repertoire?
I would say the thing that I learned with the cooking school in Italy was drinking while you're cooking. Hadn't really done a lot of that. It's funny because I remember my mom would always have a little glass of sherry while she was making dinner.
Mama
And we would
Alo.
joke, yeah,
Mama
Mama Alo. It
Alo.
was a Julia Child thing. It was always like, oh, you know, a little sherry for the cook. And when she was making spaghetti, she would put like sherry in the sauce. And so then we as kids, we get to drink some of that, and she would have some too. And that kind of stuck in my head. But cooking in Italy, like at the school, it's like you literally drank throughout the day as you were cooking. And that was an eye opener. Not something I brought back to that extent here, but from that experience though, just making fresh pasta, I love it. It's so easy to make, and that's just me saying, oh, you know, pasta, it's so easy to make, everyone can do it. No, it is. It's so easy to make. And there's nothing fancy about that. It's just really easy to make fresh pasta and have it. So,
literally flour, water,
egg.
and sometimes egg, not even all the time.
Yeah,
is that right?
A little bit of salt.
Yeah.
Maybe some oil, a couple of drops of oil. Yeah, easy.
Speaking of drinking while cooking or eating, so
Yes.
I don't drink alcohol, as you know. Nothing against it, just never started and still kind of don't. But it brought back a memory that you and I have shared together, which was a fondue meal in Switzerland.
Oh yeah.
Where I learned that if you indulge in a little white wine while enjoying your fondue, that it helps digest your fondue.
Yeah,
and I can attest to that. I'm going to raise my hand and attest to that.
I think there's science behind it, or I think it might just be the Swiss who just have convinced everyone that that's what you should do. But I think it definitely does work, because I've done it both ways. And if you have fondue and you drink water or soda or apple juice, it just sits like a rock, and you can
like
feel
coagulates.
It's just like this rock. But if you drink wine, particularly a lovely glass of white wine, Swiss white wine, supposedly the alcohol helps to break up the cheese, and it doesn't sit with you as long. So that's the other thing too. Swiss white wine, amazing. Actually, Swiss wine, amazing. You don't see a lot of it outside of Switzerland because they drink it all. They don't export a lot of wine, so it's tough to find. If you can find a good bottle of Swiss wine, get it, because it's really good.
Interesting. Great.
Yeah, they drink a lot of wine, eat a lot of fondue.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, love fondue.
That's become our Valentine tradition. So we don't.
Is it really?
Yeah. We don't go out to a restaurant. We stay at home, and doesn't always land exactly on Valentine's Day, but we, in that vicinity, will schedule a night, stay at home, and prepare all the goodies and enjoy a fondue dinner together.
I love that.
That's
great. Again, it's such a great thing to share too.
Yeah. Or have all to yourself.
Yeah.
It's quite delicious both ways. But for Valentine's, it's nice. It's nice to share.
Yeah, it's nice to share. Yeah. Oh, I'm hungry for fondue now.
I know. Seriously, right? Ugh. All right. Well,
it's a big pot of cheese. I mean, what's not to love about that? Big pot of cheese.
Melted cheese at that. And bread.
And potatoes.
Let's not forget the bread.
Some people waste their time with the little pickles. I don't have time for that. I don't have time for little pickles.
Now see, I am a fan of the pickles.
Are you really?
I am a fan of the pickles.
No.
And the little onions, the little pearl onions.
Oh yeah, little pearl onions. That's right. Yeah. No, just give me the bread. Give me the bread.
And then there's chocolate fondue.
There is chocolate fondue, which I've experimented with. And then there's the variation of the chocolate fountain, which is a fondue that cascades. I like a good chocolate fountain. Nothing wrong with that. Yeah. The downside with the chocolate fountain, of course, is that you have to add so much oil to make it, I guess, it's viscous, right? If
viscous, so it flows. Yeah.
So it flows down, cascades. It probably isn't the best thing for you, but there you go.
Well, when you're desperate for chocolate, it could suffice.
Yeah.
Well,
Augustus
we
Gloop.
could, what's that?
I said little Augustus, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's me, like this.
Mm. We could keep talking all day. Let's wrap up with some, I call them rapid fire questions, but they end up being not so rapid. So
Okay,
are you game?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay.
Do this.
Most meaningful place on earth to you?
To eat or
You can interpret that
are we still on
any way you want.
most meaningful place on earth is the backyard of my parents' house.
I love that.
Yeah, love
Say
it.
more.
Great memories.
Yeah.
No, I just love it.
Out of all
Great
the
memories.
places you've been in the world,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
mom
yeah.
and dad's backyard.
Isn't that always? Yeah, isn't that always the case? I mean, that's yeah. It's where you spent the most time. It's where you have the most memories. People you love are there. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So when you think of mom and dad's backyard, what color is that for you?
Green. Why is that a thing? What does that mean? Are you going to analyze that? What does that mean?
No,
Does
there's
that mean
no
I'm a bad person?
no analyzing.
Tell me, you know the answer. What does that mean?
No, honestly, all that's behind that, and there's some other questions I'll ask you, it's tapping into the five senses. And it's it's just a really effective way to, and this is kind of a fun tip to share with people. We experience places and people and experiences through all five of our senses. And if we ever want to kind of like transport ourselves like back to a time or a memory or a happy place, or like maybe right now where travel is a little more limited and challenging, but we want to virtually travel or, recreate those experiences for ourselves. A really effective way to do that is to kind of reconnect with all five of your senses from a certain experience or a certain place or being with a certain someone. So so it's when I talk to people about their most meaningful place to them, I like to hear from all of their five senses about that place, and it kind of helps you get to go and revisit it at the same time. Does that make sense?
What was your most meaningful place?
Oh, wow. Okay. Like you were saying, hard to pick. So let me just go with the one.
Oh my God. If you say my parents' backyard, I'll be like, amazing.
Okay, this is going to sound scripted and planned, but it wasn't. Pinky swear, right? Okay. This whole thing has been spontaneous.
Yeah.
I'm going to say our home. It really is.
Nice.
We live in a tiny home. We often wish it was just a little bigger, but more than that, like we appreciate the smallness and the coziness of it. We have been really intentional in designing our home that it be meaningful to us, making it meaningful. It was a thing for us. So it's not about what other people think when they come here or how other people react to our home. I mean, of course we want people to feel welcome and comfortable, but more than that, to us, we want to be able to look around, and anything we see, we want it to have meaning for us, or we want it to have a story behind it. And so I think because we've been very intentional about that, and it's not to say our home is immaculate or like completely organized, it's not. But when I look around our home, to me, it's like a walk down both of our family histories. We have a lot of nostalgic, family remembrances around us, but we also have a lot from our travels. And so in different ways, it's my most meaningful place, because when we're here, we just feel so connected, and we feel so grounded and comfortable here, and being surrounded by all the things and the people and the places that we love.
I love that.
And at the same time, it does remind us of all of our adventures and our travels, because we're surrounded by all of that. So when we leave and when we go on adventures and we travel, we love that experience. And at the same time, we also really love coming home. I've always been grateful for that. I've always been really, I think the older I get, the more grateful I am that we have a home that I look forward to returning to at the end of an amazing trip.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
And you do have a really nice home. So, and it is very comfortable and it is very welcoming.
Well, and it's so interesting because we do, not saying this to pat ourselves on the back, it's interesting that when you make it, and I would say the same of your homes that I've been to through the years, when you make it meaningful to you, I feel like it just creates an energy that people pick up on when they come to your home. Even if it's not their style, or even if it's not their taste, there's just an energy about it that you're so happy there, and you're so comfortable there. Yeah. That I think it creates that warm, welcoming, comfortable feeling for any guests that come to your home. What do you think about that?
Agree. No, agree. Absolutely agree. I think I probably got that from my parents as well, that, one part of it was that you should always be ready for company at a moment's notice, which means that you should always have like cookies baked, food in the fridge, and your house should be clean at all times, because you never know when that random relative is going to show up or call you, and they're just down the street and they need a place to stay, or they want to come for a visit. And so, you have to be prepared. But beyond that, it's about, making people feel comfortable in your home. And I think you nailed it. If you're comfortable in the space and you're happy, that is the key to making others feel comfortable in the space as well. So yeah.
And that's one of my favorite things to do too, is to just have people come to our home, whether it's for a meal or watching a film, or just hanging out and visiting, and long chats around the dining table or in the living room. And yeah.
Love that. And games too. I love the games at your place.
Game nights.
And magic tricks and singing. Yes, I miss that.
Oh, you have to come back. We'll get you back here soon. Okay, so back to Mom and Dad's backyard. A couple more questions. Okay. What is the sound of Mom and Dad's backyard for you?
Birds. Yeah. Birds chirping, always. Yeah. It's a very green space, lots of flowers and plants, and a lot of care that went into that. Trees and the rustling of leaves, and birds. Bird song.
Any particular kind of bird?
Who knows?
Yeah, just a medley.
Who knows? I don't know.
Birds.
Medley of birds, yeah. That would really push me over that edge if I actually knew the names of the birds.
All right.
Not that big of a geek.
What is the flavor of Mom and Dad's backyard?
It would have to be, it definitely has a flavor to it. And I would say it would be, I'm kind of on like a red sauce right now. So it would be like a plate of spaghetti with a homemade, or with a, piece of either a homemade roll or garlic bread on a paper plate.
Ooh,
just like
the paper
soaking
plate.
up that spaghetti with that sauce. And there's a party going on around, and and it's sunny. That would be it. Yeah, that's the feeling. Quintessential backyard.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then what is the feeling? Because you just said feeling. So when you think of Mom and Dad's backyard, what's the feeling it brings for you?
Oh, just disconnected. Love it. Yeah, just disconnected. That's the feeling you get. Yeah. You don't have
are you saying
anything.
Are you saying disconnected or just connected?
disconnected.
Disconnected from what?
Yeah. Oh, it just feels like you're in another world. Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just chill out. It's a great place.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that chirping? Is that a bird?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, it's funny because I've got
We have birds as
one of
well.
I've got one of the kitties is at the door meowing really loudly. I'm like,
Oh,
man.
that's why. Yeah. Yes, we've named him Steve.
Oh.
And I have no idea what kind of bird it is. Somebody was over the other day and they said, "Oh, it's a quail." And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
"I'm not so sure about that. It's not what I imagine
Steve's a
quails to
quail.
sound like." But
Yeah.
Steve, yeah, it's a funny little noise that he makes. We just think we just imagine that he has a great sense of humor. He's like a funny bird because
Steve.
of the sound that he makes. So we've named him Steve. Yes.
Nice, like that. Yeah.
All right. Last question. We'll wrap up.
Okay.
What's the greatest gift that you've received from being a citizen of the world the way you are?
Not taking yourself too seriously.
Say more.
Oh God, you can't. Yeah, if you want a constant reminder of how frail we all are, or how prone we are to accidents or mistakes, or embarrassing yourself, or saying the wrong thing, or eating the wrong thing in the wrong way, yeah, big old dose of that. That's what living abroad does to you. I think it really helps kind of just make you more humble, make you have a better sense of humor. You're more relaxed about things because there's so much that's out of your control, either because of language or logistics or culture or whatever it is. So yeah, that would be it. Mm-hmm. And I know you've experienced that too.
Yeah, I'm head nodding again.
Yeah.
I would totally
that feeling.
agree. Yeah, I really do. I think travel is in so many ways a great equalizer.
Yeah.
I think we have to choose that. I think it's more that the more open we are to that, the more of a great equalizer it will be for everyone involved. But yeah, the more we're willing to just let go and open up and be present and not, like you said, not take ourselves too seriously and not make it about me, not make it about us. It really does. Yeah, it just kind of helps level the playing field for the people that we're connecting with along the way.
I'm sorry.
Oh, everything okay over there?
Oh yeah, what could possibly go wrong?
If you spilled, I'm surprised I wasn't the first one to do it.
Yeah, it was just my alarm going off.
Got it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Travel's really good for that. There's so much that's just not in your control, and that's fine. As long as you're okay with that, that's fine. Yeah. It hasn't made me or you any less of a person who needs to control things, because I definitely love to do that. Don't get me wrong, I'm still in it to control it, absolutely. But it's just a constant reminder of my limitations and my inability to control things.
It's so true. I'm
okay too.
I am a planner at heart, and I'm all about the planning. I love the planning process. I will say the older I get, the better I am becoming at being willing to abandon the plan. But just having the plan creates a sense of security, and at least something like a fallback, if we need it. But I'm starting to enjoy just kind of letting the plan be fluid and let it go as we go along. And
I would agree.
Yeah.
The older that you get, the more comfortable I am with you allowing yourself to abandon the plan.
Thank you for that validation.
So you're doing great. Doing great with
Well,
that.
because when I'm around you, I have to abandon my plan. There's no other
Oh,
option
you
because
have
we have
to.
to go with your
No other
plan.
option. Exactly. And that's why this works.
That's why this works so well.
That's why this works. And that's why the Chris's deal with us. That's why they
Exactly.
have to.
Well, thank you so much for hanging out and talking
Well,
about so many of our favorite subjects.
well, it was great to talk to you. Great to see you.
You too. Hopefully it was a little fun for you as well.
Of course it was. It's always fun getting to talk to you.
And we'll keep planning our next adventure because there will be more adventures.
Yes, please. More adventures and more food to share around the world.
Yes. Andiamo.
Andiamo.
Until then, ciao.
Take care.
Lots of love.